how I actually paid cash for my Badass World headquarters back home in Canada. That's a sexy name for my office, with righteous email. michaelmclean.coach. My your daily or mine, mental kick in the pants videos. If you'd like to subscribe, go to michaelmclean.coach. I shoot these daily videos on my broken iPhone 7. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Consider these your daily mental kick in the pants. I talk about everything from marriage to money to marketing to email to my family, fundraising, whatever's on my mind. Your daily mental kick in the pants for free, nothing to buy. michaelmclean.coach. I'll be in your righteous email box every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, if that's your cup of Earl Grey. So today I want to tell you a story about selling Badass World headquarters back home in Canada. This is breaking news as I signed the real estate contract yesterday along with my wife Krista. And what's interesting about this story is the fact that I purchased this home. It was a brand new home in 2019. Nobody else has lived in it. And I bought it for cash from all of the money I made from selling my insurance agency email list. Not from selling my insurance agency. I never touched one penny. This was from the money that I sold my email list. I sold my email list separately to the same company that bought my agency. And I sold my email list at the time back in 2017 for $500,000. And admittedly, looking back on that, I just picked that number out of my head. It was my dad who reminded me at the time. He said, this is how much they're paying for this. And then he said, how much are you going to sell your email list for? 62,000 prospects, clients, buyers. He said, it's taken you 17 years to build that thing. How much do you sell that for? I was standing in front of my dad's desk back in 2017. I said, I didn't have that as extra. And he was like, well, don't include that. So that's when, and these corporate guys are clueless, right? You sell your company, they don't have a clue about email. So when it came down to it, one of the things I left out, of course, was my email list, my most valuable part of the agency next to the actual client list. And they were more than happy to pay what I asked. And regrettably, it was a bad deal for me thinking about it. I just said, okay, 500 grand I want for my list. They said, how many people? 62,000. And they're like, okay. So that was a nice little bonus walking out the door. I sell my agency. I sign a 10-year lease on the building, so I have them as a tenant for 10 years. And then I say, by the way, are you interested in my email list? If you're not, I'll sell it to somebody else. Because they thought I may or may not sell it to a competitor, they instantly said yes, and they added $500,000 to the total. They wrote me the 2 checks. So that was the first time that I ever got it through my head that email wealth is in 2 ways. When you build a list gradually, I started with less than 200 people on that list. And over 15 years, I built it up to over 62,000 people. But it really was the first eye-opener for me that you build an email list slowly and gradually. It's your real equity. It's the real asset in your business other than your actual clients, customers, and patients. So when I was gradually building this, we would make money. Every week I sent an email. I didn't do a very good job, especially in the beginning. I would write emails that were, stale, dull, and boring. I got better over the years. And I would send out an email every Tuesday at 10:30 to my list. And my list was 500, then 1,000, then 5,000, then up to 10,000. And as I got on television with ads and radio and online and offline, plus my 130,000 flyers per month, when I was really in the tree killing business, that's when our email list started to explode. So every day we were capturing hundreds of emails. My staff, if they talked to another human being, they captured their email. So at the time, I just thought it was something that created continuity. It created passive income every month. Every Tuesday, I'd send out the email and a bunch of quotes would trickle in, a bunch of cross sells, a bunch of referrals. Sometimes we'd write a few policies worth some good money. So I used to send an email. Sometimes we'd make $3,000, $4,000, sometimes over 10,000. It was all over the map, and especially depending on what I was, what the email was about. Sometimes I'm giving away tickets, some ways I'm giving away pizzas, sometimes I'm talking about supporting a community organization like the Rotary or the food bank or the library. So it all depended, but I was there 52 times a year. And like I said, I wasn't any good at it. I was just there. Massive consistency paid off. So I just thought, man, this is a great thing to have to every single week to get some passive income. All I did was take an hour to maybe 45 minutes back in those days and write that email. I spent way too much time on those emails, by the way. It didn't have to take that much time, and now I've learned how to write faster and better. So, for an hour a week, I could easily bring in $3, $4, $5, $10, even $15,000, and a lot more than that once we got up into the 50s and 60s thousands of emails. But it was interesting. I never thought about the word equity. I never thought about ever selling the email list. And I preach this. This is, my unsolicited advice almost every day on my videos. And to people that are in my Email Millions Mastermind, which you can sign up below, emailmillions.coach. I'm preaching this till I'm blue in the face. It's the biggest part of equity you're going to ever have. Because if you have a righteous email list, even a small, tiny list, and you email it consistently, and you sell them products that help them, then you're going to make money every week, twice a week, 5 times a week, 7 times a week, every month, every year until the cows come home. And then the missing piece for me was the fact that at the end of it, you can sell it for a big number. And if you go on the interwebs now, if you go on the World Wide Web, you'll see that there's all these email newsletters for sale, right? Email newsletters are the big new shiny object the last couple of years. All the gurus and the pretend experts and all the online guys, sign up for my email newsletter. Well, an email newsletter is an email. It really hasn't changed. You could call this a video newsletter. So it's a bubble that's going to burst in the next 12 months. And email will continue to be the queen, the king, and the whole shebang when it comes to marketing. Email's number 1 by a country mile, and mail is number 2. And there's nothing close after those two. So I never thought a big payday. So when they scratched that check for $500,000, I literally just put it away in a secure deposit. I forget what I was getting on it, 2.5%, 3% interest at the time. And I just put that money away, and I thought to myself, I didn't expect to get that $500,000, but I'm just going to put that away in a secure investment account, and we'll see what happens. So over the next 2 to 3 years, I'm retired, semi-retired for the first time. I sold my agency and I'm working out at the lake where we live, and I don't really have an office there. And Krista says to me one day, she says, it's okay we hadn't moved to Naples. She said, you need a place to work in the winter months when you can't be on the end of the dock. You need a place to work when you can't sit on the boat. So I took a pal of mine and we went into town, and I went back into the neighborhood behind the hospital. Gorgeous neighborhood, the best neighborhood in our community, in my opinion. And I just started looking around. I know the developer, and I went to see him, and I said, listen, I went to his office. And his office was one of the homes, was the last home that he had purchased or built. And I go in there, and here's these two contractors. I mean, he's a developer, right? And I said, Dave, I said, listen, I want to buy one of your brand new homes in this neighborhood. I want it for an office. I'm just going to put a desk in it. But I love this neighborhood. I think it's a great investment. And, it's 5 minutes from where I drop my daughter off at school. So it makes sense. I drive Emery to school. I go grab a cup of coffee, and I'm at my desk in World Headquarters in 5 to 10 minutes. He goes, Michael, we don't have any more. He said, this is the last model we have. And he's sitting in there at a desk in this gorgeous brand new home. And I said, okay, I'll take this one. And he says, well, you can't have this one. He says, this is the one we're using as our model home, and this is where our office is. I said, name your price. I said, I need a place and I want to be in this neighborhood. So he looks at me, everything's for sale, right? And I said, what's it listed for? And he said, well, it's listed for $590, $597 or something. Doesn't matter. Brand new. All he has is a desk in it, some filing cabinets. And I said, okay. I said, I'll give you $550 cash for it. And again, I have no idea. Seat of my pants. I'm just like, okay, he may or may not take this. I'm not sure. Good morning. And he looks at me and he says, I'll have to talk to Maurice, his business partner. Well, lo and behold, later that afternoon, I go home and I'm doing my thing. And he goes, can you come back in? So I head back into town and I walk in and he says, were you serious about that offer? I said, listen, I don't care where you guys go, but I said, I'll buy this place today, no conditions. He goes, I said, I'm assuming everything's perfect. It's brand new. And he said, listen, we'll take your offer of $550K. The only thing is we need 60 days. And I said, okay, what do you need 60 days for? He says, literally, we got to find an office because we're not going to be building another home in 60 days. So I said, Dave, no problem. So to make a short story long, we do the deal for $550. I move in. After 2 months, I put my desk in the living room. Beautiful, gorgeous floors. I fill the fridge up with good foods, eggs and protein and steaks and water and all this other stuff. I actually build a nice big deck on the back, a big cedar deck, because I noticed that the sun in the afternoon is on the back end of the house. So the only renovation I did on this brand new home is I expanded the deck on the back, and I made this big ass back that I sat on in the afternoons when the weather was nice. So this was an incredible World Headquarters, brand new everything, no headaches, everything under warranty, and sunshine everywhere. Sunshine came through the front windows in the morning, and I would sit there and read and write and study, and then after lunch, if I stayed there, I would sit on the back deck, weather permitting. So it was a really great environment, and I was, 10 minutes from home, 5 minutes from my daughter's school, and up until the other day, that place served as my World Headquarters. Leanne worked there for a while with me, but mostly it was just me. And it served an incredible, 5 years I was there. So we decided about 6 months ago, I'm like, I got 7 properties now, and I'm not sure what's coming around the corner, whether it's a recession, whether it's a depression, whether we're gonna have a soft landing. But I'm sitting there going, you know what? I'm gonna get my house in order and I'm gonna simplify my life. I don't need 6 and 7 properties. And this one doesn't bring any income, right? I'm the tenant. It's not like my other buildings that are bringing in cash flow every month. So I put it up for sale and I decide, okay, we're in Naples half the year and it's a good market. Thanks to the China virus, this house that I bought for $550, I had to put in 50 grand on top of the money from my email. And all of a sudden, thanks to the pandemic, you know what that did to real estate? All of a sudden, I talked to one of my real estate chums and I'm like, brother, how much would I get for this house? And he says, well, Michael, he says, you'll probably get 800 grand for it. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty good investment. I said, this has been an amazing place for me to work, but I don't need it anymore. And I'd like to, put my money into something that brings me monthly continuity or cash flow or whatever it is. So about 5 months ago, we put the for sale sign up, and 800 grand is a stretch, right? 797's a stretch. But I don't care. Like, I got zero neediness when it comes to selling. Like, I don't care if somebody buys it. I don't care if it sits for a year. It's not going to change my life a lot. I want to sell it, but it doesn't make any difference. So we put it up on the market, and I continue to work there until Krista and Emery and I move here to Naples in the new year. So I'd actually forgot about it. Almost half my stuff is still there. And I get a call from the real estate agent last week, and he says, Michael, there's a showing on Saturday. Is it okay to show the house? And I'm like, of course. So he shows the house, and to an older lady, she's in her 80s. She lost her husband before Christmas. It's a retirement neighborhood, safe neighborhood, new, all that stuff. And I get a call back about maybe 2 days later, and they say, he says to me, she loves the house, but she can't do that number. She can't do that number. I said, well, I'm flexible on numbers. I'll help her out if I can. I'm just looking for a good number on it. And to make a short story long, she wasn't going to be able to even come close. And then all of a sudden, she sells her home, and we're back in the neighborhood. So it only took a handful of days, and yesterday was when Krista and I agreed to sell it. But we ended up selling it yesterday, and the profit on it was $175,000. So a tick below 200 grand. And that's not too bad. That's not too bad for a place I think I got a good price on. I bought it for $550 and I sold it. And also, I used it as my office for the last 4 or 5 years. I don't even know the exact dates. And it served its purpose. But here's the thing. It was all house money. It's all house money because I started building a little email list years and years ago. All of a sudden, this is house money I'm playing with. It wasn't like we were selling our home in Naples or our home on the lake. This is a building that I bought in 2019, 2020, whatever it was, just before the lockdowns and the restrictions. And I bought it for cash, and it was all from my email list, selling my email list. So if you ever need more proof that what I'm preaching about email being the honey that brings in the money, email being the eighth marketing of the wonder world, like Matt Fury says, like all the great businesses, all the guys that have peace of mind, they all have an email list, they email it consistently, and they sell products they're proud of that help people. Like, I don't give a shit what business I've been in since the insurance business, the barbershop business. I built that place with an email list starting at zero. And same thing with my hockey business. Why do you think we were first in attendance 7 years out of 7 years? Everybody thought it was because of my radio ads or my self-promotion or any of that stuff. That all has a factor. But damn it, I built an email list of fans, season ticket holders, corporate supporters, you name it. And it was the money that brought in it was the honey that brought in the money. So I guess I just can't think of anything that's more of a priority, especially in 2024. We don't know what's around the corner. You don't know if another lockdown is in order. We don't know if there's a potential world war. We don't know if there's a soft landing. We don't know who's going to be in the White House. We don't know whether it's going to be a recession or a depression, or maybe it's going to be a boom later. Who knows? But I know one thing. I'm going to have my righteous email list, this one now that I'm in this business, there to support me. If I got locked in my house and I couldn't do anything, I can send emails, I can shoot videos, I can write books, I can write newsletters. And you know what? I'm going to be able to continue to bring in cash flow into my company. But this is a story that should resonate with you, that if you start an email list, and I started these things like, I was 50 years old when I started my barbershop email list. Like, it's not a young man's game. Everybody will look at it and say, email? What the hell would you do email for? Are you kidding me? Email will kick any social media platform's ass. And I know, because I have experience in all of them. Email will kick even mail's ass for a return on investment. So what I'm preaching here is I'm preaching that this is about future bank and present bank. Those are the two things I'm talking about. And me selling that world headquarters yesterday is proof positive of what you can do with email. Future bank and present bank. Let's break those two down. When you build an email list slowly, you're not going to get rich overnight. It's going to take time. My daughter has a tiny little email list, and she's got all the cash she can imagine down here with her little dog walking business. But just keep in mind, there's two types of wealth. There's future bank and there's present bank. And I'm telling you right now that email is like, these two are neighbors. They share each other's sugar. So when you have an email list, a small email list or whatever it is, and that's your present bank, every time you send an email once a week, twice a week, whatever the hell it is you're doing, that's called present bank. That will rain money into your business, rain mucho fungolas into your business. And the second part, which I just explained through the story of selling this house, that's future bank. I had no idea at the time that building an email list, I was going to sell it, but you can. And now you see the websites where everybody that gets out of that game, they sell their email list. Their email newsletter is just an email list. So it's pretty lucrative stuff if you know what the hell you're doing. Present bank and future bank. So I hope you take this story to heart like I did, and just think about wow, I would have had to buy that place out of my investments. I would have had to, pay money out of my savings. Though I wouldn't have been able to do that deal. They wouldn't have sold. And it was all because of my email list that I started at 200 people. So listen, I got a training coming up this February. If you're an Email Millions brother or sister, you need to be excited about this training coming up in February. It's how to start to grow, build an email list of zero, like most of the times I started with no emails, to 500 people in 90 days. I can do that with half my brains tied behind my back, but I can also help you do it if you'll do the work. From 0 to 500 buyers in 90 days. A list of 500 people can feed you for a lifetime. And then at the end of it, a list like that, a list of 500 people, you know how much that's worth? that could be worth 5 times, whatever that list brings in. You know, we talk about we sell our companies for 2 times commission, or 2.5 times commission, or 6 times commission. Email, 5 to 10 times. If I would have known what the hell I was doing, I would have sold that email list, my insurance list, for $1 million. You may think, oh, 500 grand, that's awesome. Well, it's not really awesome. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Those guys, if they had any brains, which they don't, they could use those 62,000 emails. And what do you think you do with those? You start emailing that list twice a week, 100 times a year, and all of a sudden you're literally making tens of thousands of dollars a month. And it's not long until that 500 grand is paid off. So don't make the mistake I made of underselling what you have, but take the story to heart that there's present bank and future bank. So if you are not a member of my Email Millions Mastermind, fix that problem today. I'm going to show you how to build present bank and future bank. And really, it's the training I'm doing this coming month in February, where from 0 to 500 people, not freebie seekers, not tomato cans, not mooches on your list. I'm talking about players with money, as Halbert would say. People, buyers on your list, 0 to 500 in 90 days. How to attract them, your landing page, how to keep them. I even write for don't forget, when you're part of Email Millions, I write some of these emails for you. You don't have to write an email. I write 52 of them a year. If you want to write more, go ahead and fill your boots, but you don't have to. You can use me. You can put me on your payroll. And for this week only, $147 a month for me to write the emails and for me to train you how to do it. My God, that's a sugar coffee a day. That's a trip to Starbucks or whatever the hell you do. But that's less than $4 a day. Less than $4 a day for me to teach you how to make email work in your life. And that's the story. The world headquarters that was bought for cash, $500,000 of it. The other 50 I had to pull out of another bank account. And then I turn around 4 or 5 years later after using that beautiful home and sell it for a nice profit, all by righteous email. That's it for today. Emailmillions.coach below. I'm going to be doing that training the 1st of February. So if this is of interest to you, you better get it in gear. You better get it in gear. Emailmillions.coach. Like my dad said the other day, son, the best is yet to come. And like I said back to him, I said, Dad, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. Emailmillions.coach. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change yours. Be relentless.